You're listening to Prosper in the Kingdom, the podcast where faith meets practical strategies to help you become healthy, wealthy, and wise. Join hosts Jon Cleaver and Wendy Lee as they share insights to equip you in your journey toward abundance, spiritually, financially, and beyond. Just a reminder, every situation is unique. The content of this podcast is for educational purposes only and should not be taken as specific financial or medical advice.
All right, welcome back, everybody. We're here with Prosper in the Kingdom with yours truly, Jon Cleaver, and the ever awesome Wendy Lee. Just coming off of a Mother's Day weekend. So how was your Mom's Day, Wendy?
It was good. It's funny because when your kids are real little, you want like freedom from your kids for Mother's Day. It's like, take the kids and let me have a day to relax. But this Mother's Day was kind of sad because I only had 2 of my kids with me. I'm like, wait, where are all my kids?
So you got the freedom and now you don't want it. So it's that old, be careful what you ask for. You may actually get it. So yeah, I understand.
Yeah, they're all growing up. And my Riggs school just planned their 8th grade trip overlapping Mother's Day. So he was in DC, but it's okay. It was good. Yeah. It was relaxing. And,
well, good. I'm glad you had a good weekend. I had a great weekend too, even though it was Mother's Day and I'm not a mother. We had my youngest son played Oklahoma, got to pitch on Sunday, and we swept them. They were number 14th in the country in college baseball. So that was a good weekend. So yeah, awesome.
But great baseball weather.
It was perfect. I mean, I got a little sun. I got a little burnt, not going to lie, but it felt good. It was probably in the low 80s. The humidity wasn't bad. And it was just had those big puffy clouds in the sky. And again, just a perfect weekend for baseball. So, yeah, we're headed into the season, the regular season. We've got the SEC tournament down in Hoover, Alabama. So that's going to be fun. And then hopefully we'll get to go playing the big regionals and super regionals. So we'll see how it all plays out. So,
awesome.
But today we're continuing our journey. We're on week 11 of the 12-week, study, for lack of a better term. But talking about retirement last week and longevity, what does the Bible say about all that? Well, this week we're going to talk about something I think is a little more near and dear to my heart. It's about protecting everything you've worked for, so hard to build, things like that. And what are you doing to protect it? I mean, we protect our homes with homeowners insurance. If you're a renter, you probably have renter's insurance or should. So today we're talking about what are you doing to protect the empire that you're building? What are you doing to protect, your assets and things like that? And not only that on the financial side, but the health side too. You had a great observation. You shared it with me earlier today about somebody you saw at a store made a comment.
I may have even said it on here. I can't remember, but yeah, he said, if I would have known how long I was going to live, I would have taken better care of myself. Yeah.
Yeah, folks.
And, I've been thinking about that ever since. And I'm like being more intentional with my health because I really don't want to be that person that says that. So.
Yeah, no, I completely get it. But so we're going to talk about that as well. But it's not just, again, enough to create that wealth and improve your health today, but you've also got to make sure you're protecting it to make sure it's there for you, whether it's the health or the wealth part, right? Life happens, markets shift, health challenges come. I mean, as you get older, I always comment on this, you don't typically get healthier as you get older. Because all the stuff you did as a young person kind of starts catching up with you, all those wild weekends or whatever the case may be. But with the right preparation, you can stand strong no matter what comes your way and, what happens during all of your seasons. But Proverbs 27:12, just to quote, the prudent see danger and take refuge, but the simple keep going and pay the penalty. So again, be prudent, kind of see what's around the corner and prepare for it. We talked a little bit about that last week as well. So let's dive in a little bit. Wendy, why don't you kick us off talking about protecting wealth and health? And let's talk about what you need to do.
Yeah.
Step number one of the 5 steps.
Number 1, build a financial defense plan. So being prepared and building in those protections. So in Proverbs 21:20, it says, the wise store up choice food and olive oil, but fools gulp theirs down. So there is wisdom in the word that talks about saving for the future, right? But it's not just the saving up right? But protecting what you save. I mean, part of, I think back to Joseph, right? And like all the crops were destroyed. They saved it and they protected those,
Yeah.
for the famine, right? And
Yep.
so there's different things that we can do with, having savings, right? Preparing for the future that
Mhm.
way. Insurances. We talk about a lot, legal documents that you need in
Yeah,
place.
so many people don't, and we're not
Yeah.
just talking about wills, folks. I mean, there's a lot more that you need, and it's not just when you have assets. It's, I mean, if you're over the age of 2021, you need those.
Mhm.
So yeah, you're right.
Yeah. Yeah. We see so many, and just to dig into that for a second, like I think people think, um, take life insurance, for example. Oh,
Mhm.
I don't need that till I'm older, or like you said, till I have assets. But how many funerals do we see on a GoFundMe page?
Oh my gosh,
You
yeah.
know?
Pass the hat. Yep.
Yeah.
Pass the hat. Everybody's
And
chipping in,
so,
GoFundMe, and yeah.
yeah, so even like our kid having, I thought that was so weird when prior to meeting you, and I had one of my, it was actually my State Farm agent. He's like, you need insurance, like health or life insurance on your kids. And I was like, what? Why?
Mm,
But learning about that, and like getting them insured young so they can stay insured if something happens, a childhood illness or whatever that makes them uninsurable down the road, to make sure they already have that. And then, if there is a tragedy with a child, and not having that, be a financial hit, because it's obviously already going to be an emotional hit. So it's all the
mhm.
stuff we don't like to talk about, right?
Well, and that's the thing.
But
People, we
it's
don't.
all the
It
things
makes
that
us
we need to do.
uncomfortable. Yeah, it makes us uncomfortable,
Yeah.
so we don't want to talk about it. But there's all kinds of things that have happened, and maybe you, the listener, you had something happen like that as well. Maybe a job downsize, which is why we talk about
Mhm.
emergency funds, right? Or loss of
Mhm.
a spouse, or not, maybe a loss, but disability where they can no longer work, so you've got a loss of income. But even taking that a step further to your market growth, savings like your 401ks and things like that, you're trying to grow money in these different areas. There's actually ways to put a hedge around that as well, or safety net, if you
Mhm.
will. I love those. I call them protected asset classes. That's where you can get the market gains, but when the market loses, which it does on occasion, right?
Mhm.
You don't lose any money. And that way you don't have to waste 2, 3, 4 years trying to get your money back. So again, it's all about having that assessment and looking at what do I need to protect and how can I protect it that makes sense,
Mhm.
right?
Right.
And it's different for everybody. There is no one size fits all. That's why it's something that you need to take a look at as an individual, or as a individual family unit. But and that
Mhm.
kind of guides us into the next one, looking against protecting things that may come up, those X factors on what you have, but even guarding against debt and financial temptations, right? We've talked about Proverbs 22:7, the borrower is slave to the lender, things like that, and staying out of debt. We had a conversation actually earlier this morning with a client that, we were getting her plan off and running, and she made a comment. I asked her how her Mother's Day weekend was, and she made a comment about she went shopping, and she goes, "But John, your voice was in my head about, it's just moving me further away from my financial goals or closer to. So
Right.
I still bought some stuff, but not nearly as much as I think I would have." So I'm like, all right, well, hey, baby steps, right? We made an
Yeah.
impact.
Yeah.
But again, you want to make sure you're avoiding that unnecessary debt. And we all struggle with this. I even struggle with this. Oh man, I'd really like to have that
Mhm.
want versus, oh man,
Mhm.
my roof's leaking. I need to replace it.
Mhm.
Need versus want. We all face that. Um, and one of the things we don't really talk about a whole lot is that lifestyle inflation, right? When you get those raises at your job and things like that, which, well, that's not new debt. No, but you're making additional resources. You're getting
Yeah.
additional seeds for your garden. But instead of planting those seeds in your garden, what are you doing? You're eating them,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm. Guilty.
I know,
I mean, that
right?
was like my
It's
whole first 10 years as an entrepreneur. Like especially the first few years, it was
yeah.
like, oh, I'm making more money than I ever made in my life.
Well, you
And
think it's going to be forever, right? It's
yeah.
just going to keep going.
And you like, I mean, the struggle's real, like looking at other people's life and thinking, oh, that thing makes us happy. Or, you know what I mean? Like that
For a
compare. I
short
remember
period, yeah.
my next door neighbor, she's like, she moved to a bigger house. And I was in my early 30s. And I remember her saying, "Are you still in that little house? When are you going to upsize?" And I
Ooh,
know. And I
that's
remember
harsh.
like feeling less than because I wasn't there, you know? And it's like
Yeah,
we have to
yeah.
put those blinders on and just honestly, like I go back to I've actually done this a few times this week, like going back to like my true treasures are in heaven. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah,
Like it's
yeah.
not the stuff that I have on this earth, it's the impact I can make here. And so I'm trying
And
to
that's
rewire my own brain, you know?
yeah, and it takes time, and that's one of the things you gotta constantly
Sometimes.
because you'll have people come at you like that. I mean, that's just a cheap shot. "Oh, you still in that little house?"
Yeah.
It's like, and I'm gonna tell you right now, I think everybody should have an MBA, right? And I don't mean a master's, I mean a massive bank account. When I say bank account, I mean growth account.
Yeah.
So focus on building a massive bank account and impacting the kingdom and doing for others. And like you said, storing your treasures in heaven. But you do want to make sure to to learn how to say no to things, even the small
Mhm.
things, because those small things do add up and can quickly pull you off course financially, right?
Yeah.
You look at I'm looking at, okay, my truck right now has so many miles on it, and I'm like, man, should I get a new truck? But I take good care of it. It runs great. And I'm like, man, I just really don't want to take a step backwards and, put a nice down payment in. You got to trade in as well. But you finance, it's like, and then you go, do I do the personal bank thing, which is a whole other conversation. But the big question is, do I even need
Mhm.
one? And I
Mhm.
think the answer is no. So I think I just answered that for myself.
Yeah.
So thank you, everybody. But again, looking at those monthly
Yeah.
expenses you have on a consistent basis,
Yeah.
where can I cut? Not
Yeah.
to the point where you're living and you're unhappy, okay, well,
Right.
it's top ramen again for dinner tonight, kids. No, that's not what we're talking about here, right? But being intentional with your money and making sure you're protecting yourself
Mhm.
against unnecessary debt or those financial
Yeah.
temptations, right?
So I gotta
So,
jump in real quick.
yeah,
Before we move to the next one. Um, I was I watched something the other day. It was Warren Buffett,
yeah.
who
I love Warren Buffett.
most people know he's like one of the wealthiest men in the world, right?
Frugal.
And
Yeah.
he gets McDonald's breakfast every morning. We'll talk
I
about that
saw
another
that.
day. Did you see that? And where his
I
wife
saw it.
puts the exact change in his cup. And he goes, if the market was down the day before, I spend only 217 instead of 323 on my breakfast. But
I don't deserve the cheese.
I shared that with my son Malachi because he was in the car next to me, and I thought about that because we drove through and he ran in to go pick up some drinks from Walmart.
Yeah.
We came back out, and I was like, he only handed me $3, and I'd given him the 20. I'm like, what? Where's the rest of
Yeah.
it? He's like, oh, it's right here. But we had that conversation, and I was telling him about Warren
Yeah.
Buffett. I'm like, it's not about how much money you make; it's what you do with the money you make. And this
Yeah.
is somebody,
Yeah.
which of course, extreme example, but somebody that is intentional,
Yeah.
like
And,
he's
and
paying
could
attention.
go out and spend whatever money he wants, but he doesn't. And
Yeah.
that's how he got as wealthy as he is because
Yes.
he's smart about it. He's
Discipline.
intentional about it. And he protects himself against, those fleeting thoughts of, oh, I deserve it or whatever the case may be. And we all do that, right? It's just like, my daughter introduced me to thrifting a while back, and there's a lot of cool stuff out there. I typically if I'm looking for something and it doesn't need to be new, I'll look for something on marketplace or something
Mhm.
like that to save a few bucks. But yeah, it's crazy the people that will go out and they pretend that they're just got this endless stream of wealth and go out and spend this money on things that they don't need. And it's like,
Mhm.
even if you could do that, should you do that? And if you took that savings or that difference or that even purchase and applied it towards kingdom goals, I mean, imagine again what we
Yeah.
could do. So jumping to the third one, we've got we're talking a lot about wealth and in protecting that, but again, the health. I mean, imagine building up this empire and being doing your part for the kingdom and things like that from a financial perspective, but you weren't physically able to enjoy the
Mhm.
rewards of it. You weren't physically able to go and participate on the mission trips
Mhm.
or whatever the case may be
Yeah.
because you let your body go, right?
Yeah. 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 And so, I mean, it's so important. And we've talked about it a lot, but it's those habits, right? Like
Mhm.
focusing. And I just think, honestly, to keep it super simple, am I honoring God with the temple that
Yeah.
He's given
Yeah.
me? Like, we get
Yeah.
one body. I don't know
Yep.
why that's just really like I've heard that a lot. Sometimes you hear things a lot, but you don't listen.
Mhm. Well,
So,
yeah. You hear it, but you don't listen. That's good. That's good. Yeah.
And that's one thing that I've really been listening to is like, we only have one temple. Like God gave us one place to house our soul while we're on this planet. And like,
Mhm.
we should, out of honor and respect for our creator, like take care of it. And I've never heard that really talked about in church a lot,
Mhm.
but the more I'm learning, the more, and just even being in the word, like the more you realize how important that is.
It is. It is. I mean, just again, going back to what you were talking about, or what I was talking about being healthy and enjoy things, but
Mhm.
taking it that next level of I want to honor God
Mhm.
by taking care of my worldly house, right? My
Mhm.
my body that He's given me, because He's given you one, and He made it just for you. And
Mhm.
so that's the thing where, honor God by taking care of yourself and make sure the best defense is good offense. Again, you don't have to be Arnold Schwarzenegger, but make sure you're working and things like that. Getting those regular checkups, exercising when and where you can, making sure you're watching what you put in your body, avoiding those prepackaged foods, and have a little vegetable garden. I'm proud to say I've got some tomatoes and some peppers and stuff like that going this year,
Mhm.
and I'm excited about that. And it's neat to watch them grow. And I was looking at that. I spent, I went to Lowe's that one of the first weekends, and they had it. I think they were like 3 for $10 or 4 for $10. And I looked at all the plants and how big they are, and I'm like, oh my gosh! I mean, what I would spend at the grocery store to
Right.
buy 3 or 4 tomatoes, I'm going to have like enough to give my neighbors and you and everything else. And it's fun.
Yeah.
It's actually fun to kind of do it. I'm having a good time with it
Yeah.
anyway. But again, make sure you're scheduling those regular checkups, not just for your doctor, but for your dentist. And making sure you commit to some kind of movement every day. Try to get your
Mhm.
10,000 steps, or just walk around, or if you can't do 10,000, fine, do 5,000. If you can't do 5,000, fine, do 1,000, and
Mhm.
build your count up, right? And just
Yeah.
again, you get one trip, one body, and you want to be around to enjoy it and enjoy every single day, just like you did the first one. So, what do we
Yeah.
got for number 4, Wendy?
More about that mental side, right? Philippians
Mm,
4:7 says, and the peace of God will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus. Like our our heart and our mind. So guard your mind, guard your emotions. And the number one detriment to our health, like across the board, is anxiety and depression. There's so much in the world, especially after 2020, so many people dealing with that. And it physically, like
mhm.
the more we learn, right, the more that this natural health research comes out, the more we learn these things. But like stress literally alters the state of your body.
Yeah.
And the word says, like, we get to cast all our anxiety on him, right? Like, we don't
Mhm.
have to carry that. And like, God, I don't know, it's so amazing, the Bible. Like, Jesus knew in words, Paul knew from the Holy Spirit, like these writers of the word knew through God, right? Like
Mhm.
that all of this stuff could rob us of our health, right? The
Yeah.
anxiety.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just so
Well,
cool to see how.
even the food you eat and stuff like that. I
Yeah.
mean, that's the one thing, not to, sidetrack, but I do want to jump on that a little bit. It's like the stuff that we go through, folks. I mean, it's not new. I mean, it's not like, oh, it's not new at all. I mean, yeah, the method of communication or whatever may be a little different through technology or something like that, but the things that we go through, the challenges we go through, have been around for centuries,
Mhm.
and a lot of information has been written down in the Bible to kind of guide you through that.
Mhm.
And working with others and things like that. And you talk about guarding your mind and things like that. Just like you watch what you put in your body, you got to watch what you put in your mind, meaning the
Mhm.
music you
Yeah.
listen to, the people you listen to. And I struggle with that, not with the people I listen to, because I don't like gossipers. And I don't, usually if someone, I'm like, if they're not in the room, don't talk about them in a negative sense. But I'll be honest, I'm gonna own this. I came from, city schools back in the day, and I hear Snoop Dogg on the radio, I'm jamming. I mean, it's Snoop Dogg, Dre, all those guys, right? It's like, okay. And it's like, man, should I really be listening to this? And I struggle with it, but I remind myself that, I'm not Christ, I'm a Christian. I'm still walking just like everybody else. And I don't know if you're guilty of that, you Gen Xers out there, put a little chat in there if you're with me on the struggle with that. But again, you've got to protect your mental health. So
Yeah. Yeah. And, one thing I never, yeah, so just quick backstory. When I was in my early 20s, I kept having these weird symptoms. I went to the ER 3 times because I would lose feeling in my limbs.
mm,
And they said, like, I'm looking for like answers, right? And they're
yeah,
like, we
yeah,
believe it's stress. And I was
yeah.
like, what? I'm
You need to
thinking,
believe.
so you're telling me I'm crazy is what I felt like they were saying to me, right? But the truth is, like, they said, you said your grandfather just passed away, this, that. And I'm like,
Yeah,
yeah, but I'm like at peace with all of it. And they're like, it doesn't matter. Your body can take in
yeah,
that stress. You think
yeah,
you're good and you're managing it all, but that stress
yeah,
literally creates an effect on our bodies. So anyway, but the fact that we have, not everyone can say this, right? But Christians can, that we can cast our anxiety on the Lord. We can lay our burdens
yeah,
at his feet. And, the word says that his burden is easy, his yoke is light, right? We get to
yep,
trade with Jesus. We get to give him the hard stuff and we take the easy
yeah,
stuff.
yeah,
And that's awesome.
yeah. No, it is, and you're right. I mean, some of the stuff we go through that's stressed really can affect your personal well being, right? And you may not
Mhm.
even think of it. I mean, I know I went through a divorce. This is not news, but it was there were 2 years leading up to it, and it was finalized a year ago. But that period, probably after the initial, thing, and I'm thinking, okay, well, I'm, maintaining, we're keeping it as friendly as possible. And I'm thinking, yeah, I got this under control, and I'll be honest with you, I went to some dark places, folks, and it was just, the stress was just I couldn't sleep, and it was just a lot, even though on the surface, and I'm not just saying people ask me how you're doing, I'm like, oh, I'm fine. No, I mean, in my mind, I thought everything was fine, and then it just kind of went into this downward spiral. And thankfully I found a group and got plugged into it, and did some group counseling and stuff, and it just and it was a Christian based thing, and it really kind of dove into the word and stuff like that. And it was almost like, you see that drowning guy sticking his hand out of the water, and they pulled me out. But it's amazing what that can do to your physical body, not just your mental state, but your physical body. I mean, as far as, digestive and everything else. So you got to keep an eye on that stuff. Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
yeah,
Definitely.
absolutely. So an easy tip with that too is just start gratitude journaling. Like, I
Yeah.
mean, this morning I bowed before the Lord and said thank you for the things that I was grateful for. Like we
Mhm.
just,
Attitude of
gratitude
gratitude.
solves everything.
Yeah, and have boundaries. I think, one of the things that I challenge with, I know you get challenged with this too, is setting boundaries with people. I try to help everybody, but you've got to be careful of that, because if you give a little bit of yourself to everybody, then there's nothing left for you at the end of the day. So again, setting boundaries on what you can do, and for yourself, your community, your church, or whatever the case may be. But trying to be in the game, but be in the game that's a comfort for you, right? But I love the attitude, or the excuse me, the journals you were talking about. I mean, that's neat, and that's something cool too, that you can reflect back on, right? You can look back on it
Mhm.
and kind of see your journey in action. It's almost like your own little personal biography, if you're journaling and stuff like that. But I got to ask, do you have a little lock on it, like a diary when you were a little kid, or no? Okay,
No,
to
all
check
my
a lot of
stuff,
things
my
out.
grandkids or great grandkids one day are going to be like, oh my gosh. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, that's funny. That's funny. Oh my gosh, she's crazy. No, I'm kidding. And lastly, kind of, all of this, and that's why I think people are listening here, is seeking that wise counsel, right? And that's something that, don't go through this stuff alone. You've got prayer, and your God and Jesus and that, but you also got your community, right? Your Christian community, your brothers and sisters in Christ. Don't try to go it alone. And it
Mhm.
even talks about that in Proverbs. Again, Proverbs is a great book, folks. If you haven't read it, take some time and go through it. But Proverbs 15:22, plans fail for lack of counsel, but with many advisors they succeed. So get people that you trust. And I always challenge people, kind of taking that a step further. You add in kind of the secular, like John Maxwell, things like that. Don't take advice from people who aren't where you want to be, right?
Mhm.
If they're having success in their marriage, or if they're having success in whatever, and that's the case too. You could, prime example, I just shared, I went through a divorce. I mean, I can tell you what went wrong, right? And it wasn't, I'm not pointing the finger at anybody because I own just as much of it as she did. But it's one of those things that you want to get counsel from people to help guide you. And it's not that they're trying to tell you what to do; it's they're trying to help you avoid the potholes in life
Mhm.
that they hit. And some of us get prideful and things like that when it comes to finances or trying to figure it out. "Oh, I'm just going to go on Google, or I'll talk to Bob at the water cooler," or whatever the case, or even in health, I'm just going to start doing push-ups or whatever. Well, I've learned so much through the other business that you and I started with the health and wellness stuff, that the body is like this magical thing that there's these certain keys like peptides and things like that you can unlock. But if you don't know about them, you're thinking, "I'm just going to starve myself to death, nothing's happening." So
Yeah.
go on this binge and purge and all this stuff. And that's why it's so important to have people around you that know a little bit more than you do, so they can help
Mhm.
guide you through that stuff. Don't try to navigate it alone. Consult those financial advisors, consult those health coaches, those fitness coaches,
Mhm.
right? Consult those spiritual mentors. Get plugged into a life group at your church or whatever the case may be, and go into it with an open mind and open heart, and don't try to be the quiet wallflower that
Yeah.
pretends they know everything. I'm learning every day. Every day I seek
Mhm.
knowledge. So
I love it. Good stuff. I got nothing to add to that. That was good.
okay, mic drop. Then I'm just gonna say, yeah, booyah. Now, I mean, again, that wise counsel, it helps you avoid those costly mistakes. And we're all brothers and sisters in Christ, folks. Don't try to do it alone. There's no need.
Mhm.
There's no
Yeah.
need. Grab some help. Find those trusted advisors and stuff. So, folks, again, 5 areas as you're going through and learning this stuff and trying to build wealth at whatever that is to you, and really trying to get your financial house in order, get your physical body health wise in order. Again, seek that counsel. You don't have to do it alone. Look to the Bible. Look to your group, right? Find your tribe, I guess is what I'm
Mhm.
trying to say. And if there's any way that we can help you out, do not hesitate to ask on any of those aspects. And not to say we know it all. I mean, but we can definitely point you in the right direction. Whether it's on the 4 documents we talked about, we've done some videos on that. But if you need help, let us know. If you need some help on financial guidance, I just did a session at my church over a couple of weekends and got a lot of great feedback on that. Let us know. We can help you with that material and stuff like that as well. But don't sit back and just hope it happens. Take action, knuckle up, and start moving forward. I mean, that's it. So that's all I got,
Mhm.
everybody. Wendy, again, great to see you here. We'll see everybody next week as we wrap up this 12 weeks. And if you've been listening to all this, give us a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe, everybody. And we've got some good stuff coming around the corner too. But next week we'll wrap up with week 12 of this 12-week process. And we're going to be diving into building generational wealth and health. So it's going to be more of that legacy piece, and that making a legacy that lasts. So everybody have a great day, and we'll see you next Tuesday on another Prosper in the Kingdom. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Thanks for tuning in to Prosper in the Kingdom. If this episode added value to your day, be sure to like and subscribe. And don't forget to share it with someone who could use the encouragement. For more resources, head to prosperinthekingdom.com. Let's continue building lives of purpose and abundance, one step at a time.